welcome to the Old World Fanatics, your Warhammer Fantasy podcast to quench your hobby thirst for all things the Old World. And I'm one of your hosts, Gomo. I'm back as usual with Josh and Andrew. How is everyone today?
Pretty good. Back for another week.
Yeah.
Another week of Old World.
31st week in a row.
31st, yes. I can't remember last week. Last week's been weird for me. Did we actually mention it was 30? I can't even remember.
No,
I know we did at one point, but I don't know if we were recording.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we're getting up there. We'll have to do our we'll be doing a year's birthday party at some point.
Anniversary edition.
Is that kind of time with Castle Assault, actually?
Oh.
It's going to be close.
It will be
because we started
close.
in mid-August, actually. We could do a 1 year
at Castle Assault.
At Castle Assault.
We'll have to get Fury. I remember he was doing an episode of something.
Yeah,
but I don't think it ever came out. So that will be. He should release that too, whatever he was recording. I don't know if you saw him there.
Yeah.
So,
an
old Podhammer or something. Who knows?
Podhammer, wasn't he?
Yeah. I don't know. That's a really good point, Josh. We should think about that. But it will be. It'll be.
Assuming we're still going every week at that point.
Yeah. Of course we will. Of course.
Can you imagine us after a day of drinking on the Saturday doing a podcast?
It'd be messy.
Could do a Friday night or something, like just before it. So,
man, if last year's going to go by, there's so much. CanCon is so dry compared to Castle Assault.
Yeah, it is.
Oh yeah, I mean, I was
slightly different. Yeah.
My third game was quite funny. So that was definitely I'm sitting down for this game. So that's what that was. But, well, good. Hey, we just got a bit of a grab bag of topics to talk about, didn't we? We sort of had a couple of bigger topics, but nothing. I don't know. I feel like we're at this point now where we're sort of like thinking about trying to think of some new things to talk about, and some of them we put into YouTube videos, and other things we talk about on the pod. And sometimes, like tonight, we go, let's talk about some things on the podcast, and hopefully that will spur some YouTube videos to put out. That's what I'm hoping. Sort of, we get so much good feedback from the episode comments that either correcting us or helping us, that it makes us release other content. So hopefully the listeners will still appreciate that. But obviously, if you are a YouTube viewer as well as a listener, there might be some things we talk about tonight that we end up putting a video specific on a particular topic out. But bear with us on that. But are a
good source of feedback, really. I don't know, it seems to provide a good centralized area for people to discuss, what we've talked about, and also communicate with each other as well. It's worked better than our Facebook page in a way. Like the Facebook page, we tried to do it.
Yeah, and isn't it I don't know if you guys noticed it too. We kick the podcast off because I've always liked that. I like podcasts. It's you can just do it when you're out running or whatever, listen to a podcast. But YouTube, you just don't get, with the podcast, you don't get that community and that chat and that commenting. And it just noticed as soon as we turned on the YouTube side, it just went, whoa, there's all these people who are chatting. So it's heaps good for that.
But even if you just listen to the podcast, you can still go on YouTube, track down the episode, and use that to put in comments. And,
absolutely,
it does give us content to discuss and, reply to, which we'll probably do this episode because there's a few things from last episode.
Absolutely, yeah. And we'll probably bring up some things that there's a few rule things that we want to talk about in this episode that I've heard, different opinions on during the week. So I thought let's bring that up, and I'm assuming that will lead to comments. So, we'll talk about that when we get to that segment. But anyway, I'll just do a quick shout out. I think just for our patrons as usual. I think we got another one since the last one, but I'm losing track a little bit, which is a good thing, I guess. So I think it's 23 now. But anyway, I'll just run through our patrons who obviously help us with the cost of running some of this. So thanks for that. It's about, I think it's $2 US or something a month. But yeah, I can't even say this. Ninanuum is our latest supporter, as well as Matt, Daniel, Jonathan, Gilthos, Cameron, Elliot, Chris, Harrison, Gilthos, another Gilthos. No, hang on. How come Gilthos is in here twice? He's in a free and he's paying. So actually we only got 21, not 22. I thought I noticed that last week. Anyway, Julian, Diesel, we've got Cameron, Richard's still there, William, Robert, and then we've got Shoe Spitz, Droopy Horn. I love that. Who is this person? Andrew McAllister, Bobby Gherkin, Gunwich, Sean Ritchie, Todd Lloyd, and Chapstick. So, no, thanks, guys. Heaps appreciate it, guys and girls, if there is there.
Yes, thank you.
Really big thank you. And obviously, you're welcome to join the Patreon if you haven't. And if not, jump on YouTube like we're just talking about and leave us a like and subscribe. That'd be appreciated. But anyway, let's smash into the episode. Sorry.
I do like that Shoe Spritz Droopy Horn has got an accompanying image to go with the name, the ridiculous name.
Oh, I haven't even. We'll have to start. Maybe we should start putting that on the episode website. Covers.
Yeah.
He does too. Oh, that's awesome. Anyway, we'll
see it on the website. If people go to the support of the podcast link on the oldwellfanatics.com, you can see the ridiculous.
Is it a My Little Pony or something? What is that?
Looks a bit like it with a very droopy horn.
Mm.
Yeah, right.
Oh, that's awesome. Cool. So no real news this week. There was Jordan Sorcery finally got his 7th edition Warhammer video out, which, so I don't know, Josh reminded me of this just pre-show there in the green room, saying that because we used to always talk about the Jordan Sorcery stuff, but obviously with Old World, it's he's been doing a lot of interviews and stuff, but not so much the Warhammer ones that he was. That's how I found him initially, like the history of Warhammer Fantasy. But yeah, he was stuck on trying to work out 7th and getting the right people to talk to. And anyway, he finally got that out last week, which is really cool. So go check that out. It is different to the others because there's a lot of tying between, like his previous interviews that he's done with like Rick and what's the old CEO, Mark, is it? Or something like that. Things like that. But then obviously then what he found with 7th edition and just where it fitted into the whole, it's obviously the one that landed around the time of Lord of the Rings. So not only were they competing with 40K, they're competing with themselves and how big.
Yeah.
I mean, Lord of the Rings was by far their biggest thing they ever did. By the sound of it, it was smashing 40K as well, at least in some parts. Yeah. And then obviously that died off with the show. So that's when this whole troublesome happened and the company tried to turn into just let's go sales crazy and, But anyway, that ended up being Warhammer's sort of history now. But it's a weird version because it felt like whenever you do talk to people, a lot of people say it's probably the better rule set, but it was the army books that let them down. And so you don't get this. It's sort of, I don't know, it's almost like like a missed opportunity there because no one overly plays it. I shouldn't say that because there probably would be people playing it. But once 6 took off, yeah, it's like people just stay with 6, obviously, because it was the complete edition for sure. But it's just a funny edition, the old 7th. Yeah.
Yeah.
I always wonder if people heard us talking when we were talking about 6th edition, 8th edition. I wonder if people who don't even know what we talk about go, what about 7th? Why aren't you guys talking about 7th?
It's huge overseas everywhere. Just Aussies do it.
It's weird.
We hate the number 7. We won't partake anything in that number.
Yeah, it could be like, I don't know if you guys are geeks. The geeks out there will understand, like I think it was the Linux kernel. They always went like even numbers and odd numbers were like beta releases or something like that. I can't remember, but maybe they were trying to do that. But anyway, so yeah, check that out, guys. We'll put that link in the show notes. Did you guys end up watching it? I think Josh, you said you did.
Yeah, I watched it.
Yeah. So just doing hobby. Is that what you do? Just put it on and do some hobby?
Yeah, I was painting up my little dudes.
Cool. Yeah. This isn't news, but I did want to bring this up just something I'm looking into, which was potentially making a bunch of old world counters. And then I thought, well, hang on, maybe there already is some. So I thought I'll bring it up on the podcast first, because if anyone knows about them, they can let us know. I did look on Etsy and there's a lot of like charge and like flea counters and stuff, but I'm talking about more, MDF or plastic. It doesn't really matter what it's made out of, just like for all the buffs and debuffs and stuff that you get. Because I don't know, I just find in this version there's a little bit more of that, and sometimes it's not even, you can't just put the spell card down, because even the spell card might say choose like weapon skill, like choose a characteristic, and you roll a D3 and like so that's like like, so you got a dice next to it, but then was that initiative, was that movement? And maybe it's just Tomb Kings, but I don't know. Did you guys use counters, or like do you use counters, or?
I've never have really. I've never needed to up to this point.
Yeah.
Are you talking about like specific spells, like it'll be labeled as per the spell, or would you talking about like this would be like just different statistics, like plus minus?
Yeah, well, I was thinking that. Yeah, so I started building a table of like, weapon skill +1, +2, -1, -2, that sort of stuff. So you just like put counters down if people have been debuffed or buffed and stuff like that. Not so much the spell name, no, because as I said, sometimes they're not. The spells do like you got Itchy Nuisance, which does -2 on both initiative and movement and whatever it is, things like that. Yeah. And then I was thinking, well, do you do special rules a little bit as well? The ones, because sometimes you could give people stupidity or frenzy, or, I mean, those ones you could probably put the card next to it, so that's less of an issue. But yeah, I don't know. Be interesting to see what people think if they've used them before and if they would find it useful. Because I certainly do forget sometimes. That's all.
Yeah, I'm the same. Just forget all the time. So, yeah.
I guess the hard thing with if you've got lots of different tokens to cover all your different possibilities is then you've got a big bag of tokens you're searching through to find the right one that you want to put down.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you've got a lot.
Yeah. No, totally. Yeah, that's the thing. It's like this. Yeah, I don't know how. Yeah, that's why I'm debating. I started putting a table together. And I'm like, is this worth it? Is it not? I don't know. But anyway, that's why I thought I'll bring it up. And if there's enough people going, yes, we want that, maybe that's something we can have a play around and see. Because I'd certainly use it, but you're right. Like at some point, you probably just go, it's not worth the. Just learn the bloody rules and remember it. But anyway. Cool.
Yeah, if you could have like only a few tokens, you didn't have to. If you had like 20 different ones, I feel like it'd be annoying. But if you had only like 2 or 3 to choose from, then that makes it more practical. You got to have some system to indicate what you want it to. I don't know.
I mean, the only thing I'd think of is even if it was like, because when I was laying it out in Adobe Illustrator or something, I was like, it's probably going to be like 100 tokens you could fit on a decent sheet. And I was like, okay, but you're not taking 100. You might not take 100 to the game. You might only get the ones that you care about, because it's not a whole lot.
Oh, that's
but if you're making a thing, like you probably have to have all of them to cover everyone. I don't know, potentially might not be as many as you think.
Because your army's only going to have, like, you're going to know probably what tokens you're going to need. So, because you're going to know what spell law you're having, or like what army you have and what buffs you got. So, yeah, you're right.
Yeah, so I'll have to, I don't know, I'll have to play around with it. And I started doing it last week, but then got sidetracked, so didn't get any further. But forgot to bring it up last week, so I thought I'll do it again because, I just would love to know what people think. And if there's one out there, that way we don't have to do it, I'll just buy it. But as I said, I've just found a lot of charged ones and stuff, and they're not as, I don't know. I don't need them because I've already got a really good set from the. You remember the Gale Force 9 days, all those stuff, and they're all gone now. I think, aren't they? Like
I think so.
Yeah, they had really good tokens, but anyway, hopefully they'll be back.
I've seen some feet being made for.
Is that like 3D print? Yeah, that's what I want.
3D prints.
Yeah, I gotta get you to print me one of them at some point. Yeah, it looks awesome. That's because it's the 5-inch too, is it? It's so big.
Yeah,
massive.
There's so much creative possibilities with that. I haven't seen one that I really think is awesome, but I feel like there'll be.
I was wondering with the way these 3D things. No, you're probably right. I was just thinking like, could you almost go and get like a really good orc figure that you like from the Highlands or something, and then just blow the foot up, But I guess it'd lose a bit of detail, depending on how detailed it is, But then it wouldn't have that animation.
No, you want an animation. You want debris or like figures flying from underneath the foot. Like if someone came up with something like that, where it's literally a foot landing amongst, and then just chaos around. Because a 5-inch template gives you a lot of real estate to play with. So if someone came up with something like that as a design, I think that will be awesome. Yeah.
Oh, and some of the spells, like there's a good number of those template ones I think are going to be quite common and quite popular, and to have them, and not only that, to have them on the board we actually know what they are, like Column of Crystal or whatever, which I think is going to be very popular. you know, just the fact that it blocks line of sight and stuff. I think it'd be cool to have that. That'd be a cool model to build as well.
Yeah, some real dynamic that. Yeah.
Can you get clear resin, Josh? You can, can't you? Because they Games Workshop do it, don't they?
Yeah, you can
Or is
get
that
clear
plastic they do? You know how they do those stupid clear ghost things?
Yeah, no, you can get translucent resin. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure.
Is that like Bilbo with the ring? No, not Bilbo.
Yeah, you know those ones. Yeah, but like if you had a big crystal column that was like that true translucenty type one would be pretty cool.
Yeah. Or is it Fredo with the ring? I remember one of them. They just, they're clear.
They did the whole clear
random.
ones.
Yeah.
Anyway. I was going to go a whole tangent 3D printing question there, but I'll leave it for another time because I had some ideas. But anyway, of where it might go in the end, but that's totally off topic. Hobby, guys, do you want to go through some hobby, or do you want to talk about what the subjects we will talk about in the? Should I give people a bit more heads up what we're about to talk about after hobby?
Sure.
Probably should, eh? Well, we're going to go through some comments that we have found on last week's episode, as well as our Dwarven Mountain Hold book review that Andrew and I did whenever it was, Thursday or Friday. So a few little, cool little suggestions or things and things like that I think we're talking about. As I said, there's a few rule things that I'm finding healthy debate happening on it. I'd just love to see what you guys think if you've seen it. Plus, I don't really land on any side of the fence. A lot of it, I just find it funny that this first version of the rules is leading to a lot of the whole rules as intended, rules as written, not clear, nothing groundbreaking, like nothing breaking the game or anything, but it's just funny until we get some FAQs. And then I had a topic that I'm going to do a video on with some people this week, which is about Deathstars and if Deathstars are back. So sort of flying on from our dragon topic the other week. So I had some ideas about that. And especially actually shout out to the Dwellers who gave us an awesome shout out in their episode. It was after listening to their episode last week that they were mentioning some things that I went, yeah, well, hang on. Wouldn't the Death Star help that a bit? And then that's when we talked about points the other day. I was like, yeah, well, hang on, that's an interesting one. So just wanted to talk to you guys about that and then see where we go from there. Sounds cool.
Yeah. By points, you mean victory points getting below 25%?
Yeah, the victory point stuff. Yeah, that 25% things, which we'll go through, when we talk about that. Yeah. Cool. Yep. So hobby time. Josh is usually good at this. He gets the most done.
Yeah, I usually do. But I don't know. I'm not sure I've got a huge amount to talk about this week.
I'm pretty sure I see a snazzy tripod next to you though there.
Oh yeah, I thought I'd put more effort into actually using a camera rather than just like doing this. But yeah, the main things I did was mainly my let's see if I can turn this camera on.
Oh, you're going to use the camera in there? Oh, man, this is fancy. I like it.
Oh.
Hello.
That's his paint wrap.
Is that working as intended?
That's a bunch of paint asses by the look of it.
Yeah.
Paint asses. So, I mean, it's nothing that special. Like, it's mainly doing the slow grow guys. So, like, I've been working on the little bolt thrower here. Let's see if I can get this in focus.
Oh, yeah.
I can't focus. See if I can get this behind it.
Yeah, that's the same problem with it, isn't it? Oh, yeah, that did.
I know.
Yeah.
Oh, did it just go in focus as I moved it away?
Focus as you moved away. Yeah. Oh, that's funny. It might have been the light. Yeah, who knows?
Yeah, the light. I feel like the lighting is definitely going to help. There we go. So, and then I've got little dudes, little crew guys. But yeah, again, I gotta.
So this was the. Oh no, they did go on the 25s or the 20s on that one.
These guys went on the 20s.
Yeah,
because I just based it for. Because I already put them together
for 6.
Yeah. And then I was. What was I doing? Oh, I sort of started working on one of the cold one nights because I need to get 7 together for this. So I've sort of semi-done him. But that's most of the painting that I was doing. It's like these guys.
Yeah.
But yeah. Other than that, I was packing for Uprising because I've got Uprising coming.
Yeah. When is that then? That must be getting really close.
That's this Saturday.
Oh, this
Saturday.
Oh,
right, yeah. Okay, yes. Wow.
that is close.
I'm a little bit annoyed because I don't actually have enough the right size movement trays for it for what I've taken.
So frustrating, yeah.
So annoying because I've taken 2 units of 6 Knight Errant this time. Which I haven't done before. I've usually at most I've taken 1 unit of 6, and the rest of them are units of 9. Whereas this time I've got multiple units of 9 other knights, but I've just got 2 units of 6, and I don't have a 3 wide by 2 deep. A second one.
Right.
Yeah. I thought I had, and I was looking through yesterday.
Do you use MDFs? Like, are you using back to basics?
Mostly MDF, but
all?
I've also just been the last probably 6 months. I've just been printing them.
You've been printing them,
yeah. But yeah, if I would totally just print a second one if I was going to use it for more than just this tournament. But because I'm pretty sure that I'm not going to be using those movement trays very often anymore, sadly. I'm just going to use a 3 deep. Yeah, well, I've got a 9 one, so I'll just use him. Yeah. Just doesn't look as nice. I like to have the movement trays the exact size of the units.
Size. Yeah. I get it.
Yeah.
You didn't want to sacrifice the 9, make the ultimate sacrifice, and chop the little end off.
God, no, could not. I would never do that to my trays. I would rather print it and hold you one off, I think. But I'm just going to put up with an extra bit at the back for one. Anyway, so that's this weekend. That is this weekend uprising. I think there was 22 people coming.
Oh, okay.
Signed up in the end.
That's decent.
Yeah. So it should be good.
Well,
it's
we're going to hear some stuff about that next week then.
Yeah. I probably should actually. Let's talk about my games next week, actually, because
good to know.
That would be good.
You haven't played heaps of Old World, so you're not going to get it totally confused. Hopefully, should be pretty.
No, I've kept myself pretty fresh, ready for some 6N.
Some 6. Didn't want to taint yourself too much.
I guess not. No. Yeah.
There
is a the funny thing is, so as of this week, I think, this Friday, there's a weekly Old World League starting. I think it's a Warplings Wargaming Club, which is in Lynbrook, which is not that close to me. I think it's still like a 40-minute drive from me in the southeast of Melbourne. I think that goes for. I think they're doing it weekly for like 10 rounds, and it's sort of a growing league where it starts off 1,000. I think they're doing 1,000 points for the first 4 weeks, then 1,500, and then 2,000 or something like that. So I know there's not much points in terms of painting and stuff. I think it's mainly just you're playing your games and that kind of thing.
Yeah, sort of getting.
So sort of was considering doing that, but I'm not sure when I'll be able to start doing it, if you know what I mean, because it's the first one is this Friday night, which is the night before I'm driving to Ballarat. Next week I have my slow grow on the Sunday too, so it's like it depends on.
It is interesting, isn't it? It's like the slow grow at Legions that I didn't go to the first one. I feel like if you hadn't played a lot and you hadn't played any 6th and all that, then you might join a slow grow, but when you've sort of already got a bunch of armies all up and the only thing you're wanting to do initially is rebase, I haven't had this big pull towards going in a slow grow, if you know what I mean. For Old World, that is. But yeah, I do like the slow grows because they're so fun, but I'm just like,
that's how you'd see it, isn't it? Just as an excuse to play games of smaller size and get to know the rules and stuff. I mean, you can't, obviously, you can use it to make a new army, but you can also, most of those people that run it are usually pretty happy for you to bring.
Yeah, they'll still miss that other one.
Ready-made army,
yeah. But no, I'll have to get to the next Legions, and hopefully, sounded pretty popular last time, so hopefully it'll be, And if all these people are going to Castle, it's going to be a pretty big one.
Yeah, well,
should be good. Cool. So that was your hobby.
Yeah, that's all.
What'd you get up to, Andrew?
oh, Josh is getting his stuff out. I'm like, I should almost go grab mine. Bit of show and tell, but I might do that next time because it's not quite finished. So yeah, I just finished off flocking a bunch of stuff I was rebasing, and so my gyro bombers, for the guys at home, I'm repurposing what I was using in Ninth Age. So I've got a couple of gyrocopters, and my gyro bombers was actually using the gun hauler out of Age of Sigma, the smaller out of the airships, and I basically tacked on the rear of the gyro bomber out of the gyro bomber kit, because like the gyro bomber kit, you can make
because you get that in a
yeah.
Okay, cool. Okay.
So I've kind of bastardized it, but
yeah,
didn't have any bombs on it because I was using it as their I forget what they even called it in Ninth Age, but they had like a airship thing where you could, it's kind of like a chariot sort of thing. So anyway, I'm using them as my gyro bombers, but didn't have any bombs. So I found these old gyrocopter gyro bomber sprues. I don't know how I managed to find them, but from when I originally made these models, and they had the bombs on them. So I've been painting up the bombs, and I'm trying to come up with a little way of putting these bombs on.
yeah. Are you going to use them as gyro bombers, or are you going to use them as gyrocopters?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So I've got 2 gyrocopters already, which are the newer ones that came out with 8th edition. And then I'm using these gun haulers as 2 gyro bombers. I've got a bunch of.
I don't even know what the gun hauler is, but that's an AOS. One of the dudes, is it the flying ones?
Yeah, like the Aquanaut dwarfy dudes. Yeah. I don't know what they're called. But I've also got a bunch of. I'm trying to work out if I want to use them, but I've got resin airships, dwarf resin airships. But the problem is they're solid resin, and it's this big bloody airship, and I'm like, it's just, I can see it's just going to be painted.
How they make
that?
You're
talking about like a Zeppelin type thing with a big balloon? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah,
it's solid resin. It's really
solid. Yeah, it is heavy. It was I forget what they used to do. They're probably still around. They did like this third-party miniature company, and they did like dwarves as like robots. So like they were kind of.
Vaguely remember. That wasn't Avatars, was it? No, different one.
Nah. Yeah, it's a different one.
The Slayers. Yeah.
Yeah. So I've got like 4 of them. So I'll see how the gyros go, but I don't want to start coming up with some.
What's the bombers on base wise? Are they?
Same 50.
50s.
Yeah, 50.
Okay.
Yeah.
They're not a chariot or anything. Not a chariot base. Okay. Cool.
No. But yeah, they're
That's good because you could technically proxy them as gyrocopters in games and stuff. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't think anyone would care. Like, if you want to run more gyrocopters sometimes rather than the bomber, stuff like that.
Yeah. Definitely.
Have one hiding in a unit of 6.
Yeah.
Who's gonna know?
Yeah, the problem is it's big. It's this big long thing. So
yeah. You have to put
the
rear rank.
Yeah.
That's where you need your movement tray bigger. No, just kidding.
Yeah. What did you get up to?
Me, then? Oh man, I mean, last week the week before I did all that rebasing and had it all ready to go, and then so the only thing I've actually finished is 20 or 21 actually archers have been all rebased and painted now, like the bases and stuff. But it was funny, because I guess the 2 things I wanted to bring up was I started multi-basing a bit, and then wanted to, like, I was looking around at like bigger multi-bases, like 25s by, what would it be? Like 100 or 25 by 125, like to do 5 wide or 4 wide ones. Because I was thinking, if you're switching, reforming and things. And anyway, but I only had the old cav bases, 25 by 50. So I've done a bunch of them on them. But then, so that's all done, and my first 20 archers are done. And then that was when I realised I can't remember who said it. It was either one of our commenters or something said, Oh no, I realized my archers were open order, and I could have done that reform like pivots and stuff at the end of my turn. I was like, bloody hell! But then realized that someone else mentioned the skirmishes are better, and I was like, yeah, what? They're the same points for skirmishing archers. You just don't get a champ. So the multi-basing doesn't really work in the skirmishes because you don't want them on the one base. So I've still got another 20 to do, so I'm definitely not going to multi-base those guys. But ironically, if I'd started with the Tomb Guard, I would have multi-based them, and that would have been better. But I'll just do that as I go. Because I think even just a couple on twos, it just makes it quicker to take stuff off. Especially 100%. If you're reforming or redressing ranks. I think for my Tomb Guard, I'd probably want a bunch of like 3 on a base or 4, some of them as well. It'd just be quicker, but we'll see. But I did want to, so yeah, that's what I'm sort of still doing. So all my Tomb Guard, the ones I've done are all on 25 singles. Like I didn't rebase them, but when I make more, I'll rebase them, like multi-base. But I've done all my other like characters. They're all on 25s now. I just need to actually either paint them or fix the base up if it's ones that are already done. And then obviously finish my dragon and stuff. So,
yeah, didn't we clarify? I think I saw on Facebook. I think we were talking to someone about skirmish formation, and then I think we discovered there was a sentence in there that says you can't actually place them in base contact with each other.
Yes,
unless
there's
they're in
that
contact.
too. Yeah, that was another discussion because I was like, I always was thinking, is there anything in the rules where you actually have to, like, you could just say I'm open order, but I'm actually skirmishing and have them like quite close. But yeah, the skirmish rule actually says they're not in base to base. But that's all it says. So technically, laws of physics, they're not actually in base to base.
0.1 mil.
To each other. There's always going to be at least an atom between the two pieces of plastic.
A hair width apart. Yeah,
so if you really want to get pedantic, you still could have them all together.
Yeah.
But,
infinitely close, but not actually touching.
Exactly. Yeah. But yeah, no. So, but then you get in this whole thing where it's like, oh, well, what do you do for skirmishes in this edition? Because you can't do. I love the 8th edition now. It's just simple whack-a-mole on a tray, but now it's all individual, and it's like, I don't know. I'm still going to make movement trays for them, but that's more to carry them around than anything. So it's a bit, I don't know, it's a bit annoying. Yeah. Especially with Tomb Kings and Archers, because you might have 40 of them running around.
Yeah.
Would you be willing to go, look, I'll just put them in open order because I can't be bothered to deal with all these bloody skirmish bases, not on a movement tray. It's just too much of a headache.
And it's a good point because you do get your 90-degree pivot, so the chances of someone, like sometimes you want to do that 360, but I mean, they're freaking skeleton archers. They're not really going to do a whole lot anyway. So it doesn't, it's not like they're charging like a bloody peg knight or something.
They almost have a smaller
footprint. You get smaller footprint, and you do get those. They can take the magic. I think they take a magic banner, but they've got a champ who can take a magic item and stuff, which I don't think the skirmishers can. So, but the skirmishers do move a whole 5 inches. I don't know if that's a typo, but they move 5 inches for some reason.
So why can't the skirmishers take a champ?
I don't think they can. I might be wrong on that, but I thought I saw that there was just no. They were just a basic unit like skirmishers. Choose a bow or not, and that was about it. Oh, and the ambush rule. But I don't think they had as many of the other rules.
Oh, is it like a separate profile or?
Yeah, separate profile. Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry, I thought it was a.
No, it's not. No. It's not a. It's not like a upgrade on the archer. No, they're just a whole unit. Yeah, and that's why I didn't really look at them. I was going to make some skirmish sword guys or something, or some other archers, but then I just never got round to it. And then looking at the points, I was like, hang on, why don't I just take my archers as skirmishers? Just for
they come with Vanguard as well, and Chariot Runner.
Yeah, that's going to be the interesting one, the Chariot Runner one, potentially.
Like you could just have units of 5 that Vanguard up and get in the way, shooting things and just cause havoc and good redirection.
Oh, you got them up there? Does it have a champ option? I just didn't think it did, but maybe I was wrong.
No,
it doesn't. Yeah,
doesn't have any upgrades of command at all.
And I don't know if the champ is worth it, but I mean, you are hearing on 4s, so I like the idea sometimes. If you got the points, just take the champ.
Oh yeah.
So
and the fact you can
3. Well,
bring back alive again is funny.
Bring back alive, plus take a challenge. Like you know, I mean, your Terraglass, your Terraglass didn't go into my archers once, but, you know, that does happen where, you know, you get them in line and do a challenge and you're not going to run away. So,
Yeah.
Anyway, so I'm doing that, but I will bring up, and this is not going to be good for audio, but I'm questioning, and I really don't want to do it, but I'll take your non-biased opinion of whether or not I should change the base rim color while I'm at it. So where is my present here?
Let me see.
So this is not going to work for the poor guys at home or listening to the, what's me call it? Where is... So I'm just trying to work out what
When
screen.
I'm listening
I
back
cannot
on this
see the
later, I'll be like,
screen.
damn you, Colin, why can't I see it?
Yeah. So I've always used, and the color, it's a bad picture. They look probably more saturated than they are on this picture, but I've been using, I always have used just like, I don't know why, it was just Vallejo Desert Yellow for the base, which I've never really been in love with. That's that real, it's not really even a desert color. It's like a, what do you call it? A poo mustard color?
Baby poo brown.
Baby poo, yeah. But altogether, it's been fine. And I thought my army looks pretty good. So I was like, I don't have to change it. I'll just leave it. And then some other guy posted his army up. And I went, oh, I didn't mind his color. And I went, what is that? And he goes, yeah, it's just Andrew Dust. I went, oh, yeah, duh, it is. Because, use it as the base coat a lot on skeletons and stuff.
Yeah.
So I just did one of them in Xandri Dust just to see. But I don't know what I want to do, I guess, because half the time you don't even see the base rim color because it's in the movement tray. But
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I like the Xandri Dust. The Xandri Dust is the one on the paler one, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's a lot cooler, as in the color. You know, it's not as.
Yes.
I think the tan is too warm. Too warm. It doesn't fit.
Yeah.
So I think it blends nicely with the model. I was either going to say,
and it might look
or
even better when you've got better figures. Like these are just skeleton archers, but when you got Tomb Guard with the gold and the shields and all that, I think that
it's
that
gonna
more
make
neutral
it
base
might
look better.
Yeah.
You bastards! I'm gonna have to go through and change all my base rim colors. I think I agree with you though. I was just seeing what you thought.
Yeah.
I don't know that it would work or not, but the other color I was tempted to suggest was black.
No, I can't. I've tried.
Turn it off. But
I
think it might work as a single model, but as a ranked up unit, it would not work, I don't think.
And that's the thing. What I found with the but I was going to say this, but I just contradicted myself. I was with my orcs. I started doing black rims because it's like, no, you got to do black rims around bases, and I still can't do it. I don't know what it is. I don't know.
It depends on the main colors of the.
Yeah,
it depends. Yeah,
I just feel like if I painted a massive like just a display piece, I would do a black rim. But because it's an army and it's trying to tie in, and it's I don't know. I don't know what it is. I like seeing it connected to the ground. I don't know why, and not floating above it in this black thing.
Yeah,
this abstract thing. Yeah, but I don't know. It's just it's the never-ending debate, isn't it, to do black rimmed or coloured bases? So.
Yeah,
maybe I'm more inclined to suggest it because I've been using it on my Slanesh guys, but that's more out of happenstance because there's black areas on the base itself with the snow and the white and different other.
Yeah.
Sure what I mean? Like it's black.
Yeah, I think you're right. Again, with the snow base, they look really good. Yeah,
with the snow base. Oh man, I cannot get good focus on these things, can I?
Yeah.
Whatever.
What are your breaths?
I think, to be honest, I think that would work really good. Actually, the base, the black.
I usually use chocolate brown, the Vallejo model color chocolate brown for the Bretts, which is like a mud. Yeah,
it's
like
a darker one,
a dark red warm mud color.
It's like isn't that like not Scrag brown? It's one of the. It's one of those. It's not like Mornfang brown, is it? That sort of color. I use Terra Earth, which is basically the Vallejo's Steel Legion drab for orcs and all that. But yeah, cool. Oh, I mean, it's easy to paint the rims, but I might as well do it as I go through. Might look good.
I don't really know what Mornfang brown looks like.
Yeah, that's cool. And people listening will not see any of it, so they have no idea.
Dark leather brown. Yeah.
Cool.
I haven't done the Goblin Green rim for a while.
Neither have I.
Yeah.
It's been a while.
I've seen quite a few with the snow grow, the 6 cent snow grow. Everyone's going down that route.
Okay.
Yeah. Vintage.
Vintage. Love it.
Yeah.
I saw a really good dwarf army on our Discord, and he's almost done all the armor like I wouldn't call it a muted or dirty, but it's like it's not the shiny gold. It's like I don't know. It's probably a little bit of a dirtier gold, but like there's virtually no silver on them. They're all dwarves, but just with like almost gold. And I thought, actually looked pretty cool. Just to sort of make them a bit, I don't know, stick out a bit different. So it's cool how people do different interpretations of it all. So
Yeah. Might check that out.
Yeah, I think it was on our Discord. Looks pretty good. It actually made me go, oh, maybe I'll do that because I was, I'd like to do one army that's not like paint by the numbers. That's what I'm like. I just paint whatever is in the Games Workshop books. That's what I paint. So at some point I'm going to have to branch out and do something different. Yeah.
Maybe we should do like ultra thin bases, like 0.1 mil thick bases with no rim.
You know what I did think though, for the, I've been saying next year I'll do Chaos or something. I thought because there's not as many figures, could I do an army where the entire army's converted and like force myself to do it rather than just buy stuff, put it together and play it? Yeah. So that would really push my hobbying because I'd like to do it, but it's just I'm a bit impatient sometimes. I just whack this together, paint it, and get it on the table.
It takes a long time to pull that off.
Thing with Chaos, it'd be easy to do because there's so much out there, but at the same time, no one might not even realize you did it because a lot of the Chaos stuff is all crazy anyway, especially with all the AOS. Like you wouldn't even know if that was a normal unit or not. So
there's so much like 3D printed Chaos sort of.
Yeah. Anyway, cool. Let's get on to some interesting topics. So do you want to catch up on the stuff the corrections and suggestions first from last week? Or you want to go through the order that I had it in the sheet here? It wasn't in any specific order.
Yeah, sure.
Comments from last week? That way I'm not talking all the time. Yeah. Let's do that.
Yeah. I can do the comments from last week. So there was mainly two main ones that were interesting. I think it was Vodrake first. Was the one I noticed, which I think we're talking about magic armor and whether or not, if you had a character who couldn't take heavy armor, whether you could take a heavy armor magic item. And there's a couple of things with this. So one of it is like, it doesn't really specify in the rule book because it just says only a model that is equipped with armor, a shield, or body may purchase a magical equivalent, which it doesn't address the question at all.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. It doesn't specify different types of armor, I guess, where it says shield or body specifically. But it is quite vague. But the interesting point he had was that in the Beastman book there is actually a full plate armor item called Blackened Plate for 25 points. But no characters in that army book can actually take full plate, as a base thing.
Yeah, cool. So that sells. That gives you the intention there that they're probably going behind.
Yeah. That's an awesome example, actually.
Yeah,
well done. Who's that? For Drake.
Good job. For Drake. Yeah, so I know it's a good pickup. Either that or it's a horrible oversight by when they wrote the rules. And you actually can't take that item, which would be very ridiculous.
See, I think I can't remember what I said last week, but I just remember not limited. I never really remember thinking, and it's probably because I've never run into it too much, but like if my character couldn't take a shield on his list, but I wanted to pick up the enchanted shield, I just assumed I could always do it. Like I didn't, because it's a magic item, it's like different to the upgrade of what they could take in the army list type thing. And that's when people were talking about that being a bit more stricter. That's when I went, oh crap, have I done that wrong? But I can't remember. There's probably no circumstances where it probably even crept up, but that's when I remember us talking about that, going, well, hang on, if you can't take heavy armor, but you're going to take light armor, and the magic item says heavy armor, what the hell? But remember the old editions always used to say like, oh, even though it says a sword of whatever, it's actually, it could be a axe or it could be a, whatever. I guess,
something
So,
fitting for the. Yeah.
I feel like, I lean on what Verdrake's. I reckon that's the rules as intended, but I guess we'll have to see if people are that strict in general.
I'm just thinking of just some Waywatcher Lord jumping around in like full plate or something like that, or like even heavy armor. Like it kind of just doesn't, the fantasy to the adding these armors. Like to me, it's more of just like the lore.
The laws seems weird. My justification would be, it's a light armor, but it's got a 4-up save. Like it's like a magic armor. It's light as. But you're right. There's probably heaps of circumstances where that probably crept up with elves because they probably don't have options to do heavy. I don't know. I can't remember what we even said last week. Did we say you couldn't do it? Is that?
I think we were leaning towards not. Well, I was.
Yeah, I think I was in the same boat. You could only equip what you were able to equip in the mundane, category.
Was there another one? Magic armor.
There was another one. So I'll do this one too. Stefan Nilsson 2132 was talking about the armor of meteoric iron because I think we sort of poo-pooed it a bit, but he did come up with
that
one.
The 5-up one? Is that the one that
the
5-up save?
Armor that can't be
we did
improved or
because we're like, why can't it be a 3-up? Like the old one.
That's right. But he sort of came up because it can't be reduced story proof. But he came up with a situation where it might be useful, which is mainly just the demon prince. I couldn't really think of anyone else really. Like I was thinking maybe the Tree Nation could take this, but then he can't take magic items. And weirdly, the demon prince can't even do this either. It's only the Warriors of Chaos demon prince, because the demon prince can only take chaos gifts. He can't take magic items, which I'm like, whereas the Warriors of Chaos demons prince can take magic items. I'm like, what the hell? He has a 4-up ward, 5-up regen, and I think he can take light. I think he comes with light armor, and he can take mundane heavy armor as well. But taking the meteoric iron essentially gives him an additional unmodifiable 5-up. So he goes 5-up, 4-up ward, 5-up regen, which is actually quite useful.
The people that are going against him, and I think that's good because the people who would fight a demon prince are going to have AP, and so you're right. It's given that whole 5-up save, and that's probably true in a lot of other ones a little bit, but definitely with that guy, he's already got the wards and the regen. I like it.
Yeah, it's a good shout. So it shows sometimes there is situations where something doesn't look that great. The armies we play, but there are dudes that can make use of it. But I think that was most of the comments from last week.
Sweet. Did you want me to
do the
might as well. If you want.
Go for it, guys.
Yeah, sweet. So myself and Gomo did the Dwarf Mountain Hold book review / army faction review. There's a couple of things that got brought up, which I think are very valid and look like, at least I got the interpretations wrong. So from Tolkash, first it was brought up the death blow rule. So basically when a Slayer dies, or is reduced to 0 wounds, basically the unit, it's kind of worded that he's not attacking back. It's sort of like the unit that caused that wound is hit by a strength 3 AP 1 attack. But I was thinking, and I've heard other people saying that it gets possibly buffed by the Slayer rule, which is basically 4+ to wound, no matter the target's toughness. But the good point he made, because it doesn't say it's a special attack as such, but the Slayers don't have a natural AP of 1. They are strength 3, but they're not AP1. So the fact that it's got the death blow with strength 3, AP1 is a different profile to what's actually in their stats. So because of that as well, sort of gives more evidence to say that no, it's a special attack. It won't
special attack.
Yeah,
which sucks really, because I mean, I don't know. I think I actually brought up the question of it because I wasn't sure, and because I hadn't really read it till then, and then I was like, oh, it sort of sucks if you don't get that, but I guess it is what it is. You get an AP.
Yeah.
I feel like it's a bit of a buff from the old one in the sense that you don't have to roll to hit, but the other one was an attack, wasn't it? So you got your Slayer 4-up.
Yeah, I think it was a higher strength as well from memory. I think
it was
strength
okay.
5 or something possibly.
Right.
I could be getting confused with 9th age because to me 8th and 9th sort of
I know. I've got
melded into one after a while.
I thought 8th had combined profiles. Red monsters.
Yeah.
That's how bad I just haven't played 8th for. I was like,
but no, yeah. But they were definitely like your Slayers used to die, and you'd be like, yeah, mate, you kill my Slayers because they did so much with their attacks back, the death blow rule. The other one, and this was a really good one. This is really just a play on because a lot of people are talking about the way that it's written. So from Clyde Miller, was it one? So it was the Master Rune of Hesitation. So I'll just read out the rule. So an enemy unit that charges the front arc of a unit carrying a standard inscribed with the Master Rune of Hesitation does not count as having charged for the purposes of choosing which weapon to use or any special rule it may have. So the way I was interpreting it was like you can't choose which weapon to use or use any special rules for the purposes of charging.
Its +2 strength type thing. Yeah.
Where else the community's feedback was the second part of using any special rule it may have is for
the
that
unit, not the weapon.
The unit. Yeah,
no,
correct.
That's what I was saying. It needed brackets, but yeah.
Yeah. So impact hits and like furious charge and things like that.
So what was he saying then? Because this is just the quote you've written here. So what's the?
Yeah. So it was he and other people commented, and they were all in agreement that that the way that my interpretation was wrong, and that you can't choose a weapon when you have charged. You can't choose which weapon you use. You're just got to use your mundane weapon or whatever it is. And you can't use any special rules
like initiative buffs. What about impact hits?
Yeah. So it says you've still charged. I've got it right here.
Yeah, your class is charging, but you don't get.
Yeah,
so you're not getting
you just don't get the special rules. Yeah, so basically.
What about furious charge? Is that +1? Is that the +1 attack one when you charge?
So
furious charge,
all
so
of
you
that.
wouldn't get that. Yeah. Okay.
So basically,
that makes
any
it a
special
great.
rules
Yeah, that makes it a great
regarding
rune.
to a charge. Yeah.
I mean, it is a master rune.
Yeah. But it's only 40 odd points. I think it is 45 points. So it's only negating the special rules that the unit's got. So yeah, obviously everything else, like the game rules, such as like initiative, that's not a special rule. That's just an inbuilt rule as part of the combat.
Oh, like +3 to initiative.
Yeah. So it's only going to be the unit special rules.
But is that impact
are
hits
linked
then?
to a charge? Yeah, that should be.
Because that's a special rule.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's all special rules. All that and furious charge, all that sort of stuff.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember when we were reading, I couldn't remember which one. I was a bit confused with how it's written because I could easily see how the it could be. Is it referring to the weapon? Or
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I was trying to do. And then all the English majors were coming in and talking about nouns and pronouns. And you lost me.
Yeah, totally.
Well,
I mean, speaking of that, then I will scatter back to the discussion that's been going around. If anyone's been listening to Mountain Miniatures lately, and not just them, but other stuff, there's just a few little rules that are coming up in discussions and friendly debates, which I thought were funny to bring up. I'll just say I don't really land on any. I just want to hear your guys' opinions if you haven't heard these ones. So
Yep. Off the cuff.
Have
Haven't
you
heard them.
seen stuff about the scatter dice random movement stuff? Nothing at all. Okay, so
No.
as far as I don't know how it started, but the way I first heard it was them talking about that the Fanatic, if you roll a hit on the scatter dice, doesn't move; it just stays in place, and you don't move it by that little. You know how the hit usually has like that little arrow, yeah. Anyway, so and then the same with Vortex, like some of the spells that move randomly, if they roll that hit, they stay where they are. They don't move. And then I guess then people went, no, it's random movement. It says move 2d6, whatever. Anyway, and then when you dig into it and look at where the scatter dice is used and not used, or where random movement is actually described, you start, I guess, leaning towards the idea that they do stand still, because there's actually it gets into the debate again. There's no real place in the rules that tell you how to move things randomly, specifically as random direction. There's no random direction rule. It's just, and whereas the old editions did say that, and so there's this whole debate. It's not even a debate, but it's the whole idea of: are you reading it because you've played other editions, or if you're a new person who's never played an edition, how would you actually do this? And you'd have to read the whole. You'd have to open the rule book and jump between it to actually try and make sense of it. But I just wanted to run through a few of those little things with you. So, firstly, I think there's a place that talks about the artillery and scatter dice right at the beginning and what they are. And this is just going off your point, Andrew, about English language. Yeah. You could easily read this two ways. So it basically says Warhammer the Old World uses two special dice, the artillery dice and a scatter dice. These are often used together to represent the effects of war machines. Sometimes the scatter dice is used with one or more d6 to determine a random direction and distance. So that's where it actually said random direction. Now, I guess you have to... Do you think... So just read that last sentence. Sometimes the scatter dice is used with one or more d6 to determine a random direction. Does that mean it's sometimes not used? Or does that just mean it's always used to do random direction, but it's either used with a d6 or more d6s or with the artillery, like it's never done by itself? Because that sort of then becomes the critical part here, because if you always use the scatter dice to determine random movement, then the only other places the scatter dice is talked about is in the template section, which does talk about saying that if it hits roll, the object doesn't move. But this scatter part, this scatter rule area, is only in templates, right? And a Fanatic's not a template. The Fanatic movement does not mention scatter, and it does not mention templates. So that's the interesting thing. So anyway, I don't know. If you haven't heard this discussion, it's quite funny. I'll link some of the videos, but
that's interesting.
What's his name? Steve from Mountain Miniatures. He gets quite passionate with it. And originally I was like, nah, man, surely it just moves randomly. But I don't know. The more I read it, I was like, I can see where he's coming from, because he's standing firmly behind it. If you roll a hit, it doesn't move. So they've been playing like that for the last week and a half or something now, with templates and stuff. So yeah, it's funny. Anyway,
so 1 in 3 of the time it won't move.
Yeah, and he said he found it was interesting with spells like vortexes, that makes them a little bit interesting sometimes, because sometimes they won't move in the second and third, things as well. But yeah, I don't know if random movement I put in our notes here, but it's really got nothing to do with it. It doesn't talk about anything about scattering. It really comes down to the fact that they need to, because I guess the other argument is there's nowhere in the book you could easily interpret that last sentence in the artillery and scatter dice when it says sometimes the scatter dice is used with one or more d6. Well, if it's sometimes, then therefore I can determine a random direction anyway. And people are saying I could use a Game of Life spin the wheel thing and do it a random direction. Do you know what I mean? I don't have to use the scatter dice. But if you read that whole paragraph, I think to me it reads like the scatter dice is used with an artillery dice, or sometimes with one or more d6s. Like it's never used by itself. Is that? And I don't even know if that's true. Maybe there is other things that you just roll around dice, but no, you wouldn't. You'd have to. Unless there was a spell that just made you point to different.
Number.
Yeah. Yeah. So therefore, is that paragraph saying that it's always used either to do random direction or with a artillery dice? And if so, then you could argue that the only other place, when you search scatter, the only place to find scatter is under templates. And so random direction always uses scatter dice and always goes through the rules of scatter. But I don't know. It needs an FAQ. So
I think
it's just weird.
Part of the problem is that as much as we are reading it as people who have played this game previously, I feel like the people that wrote the rules also had the same mindset. Which
absolutely.
Totally
and they even said that, though, in a way, that it was written for experienced gamers. It's not written for beginners, which means it's not written really for people who haven't played. But having said that, you shouldn't have to know other editions, hey? Because that's pretty dangerous to bring in interpretations from other editions.
For sure.
So.
Yeah. No, I agree. I agree with your point. I'm not on board with the idea that a hit does not move. Like it's that scatter rule, as you say, that's for landing templates on the table. It's we're placing an object and then scattering it. That's not the same thing at all.
Well, if you come down here, it says here they move 2d6 in a. Hang on, sorry, this one. During each and every other compulsory, a fanatic moves 2d6 in a random direction.
Doesn't
so
mention
it definitely
scatter.
Feels weird to do this, but the only place random direction is talked about is here. So there's no other way. There's nowhere. If you don't know anything about Warhammer, and I said, open up the book and tell me how you determine and do random direction, this is the only place you'll find it. And it talks about scatter, using the scatter dice. And then you go, okay, well, how do I use a scatter dice? And the only place in the book that tells you how to use a scatter dice is here in the template section. So it's just weird. They've just, and nowhere, I don't think anywhere, and I might be wrong here on this one because I haven't gone into it as in depth as those guys have, but I'm not sure anywhere it even says about the little arrow on those scatter dice on the hit.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, it does. Sorry, the only time it does that is in the actual artillery piece. Yeah. So for like the rock lobber, it'll say, if you roll a hit, you have to, for the indirect fire, like you.
Yeah.
That's the only time it talks about that little arrow bit on the hit. So that's just where people are going, well, Fnatic, if it rolls a hit, stays where it is because there's no rule that says it has to move where the little thing is. So I'm just reporting here. I think it feels weird for it to. Well, I don't really care which way it goes, to be honest. I don't think it's bad that they stay by them, don't move either, because I think it's sort of, imagine like you're spinning around and sometimes you end up staying in spot and then you spin somewhere else. So it's not that big a deal, but it is funny, nevertheless. You guys are reading rules there, aren't you? Trying to work it out.
Yep.
Your brain's exploding. It's just, this book is just...
Oh, my God.
I feel like I've gone back into a religious days and I'm like trying to go through some old religious text, trying to pull out meanings from different passages written by different people. It's just
like I said, it doesn't seem clear cut, but it just seems like it's kind of they're loosely linked.
Yeah.
But I mean,
cool. Well, that's enough on scatters. We'll move on to the other one that's come up a little bit, and it's probably more cut and dry, and but I'm not sure, I guess, is some people were mentioning in some battle reports that things like this is fly X rule. So the fly rule, and then there's a lot of spells out there and things that debuff or buff movement values, and then therefore, because you got fly, your fly X value is not your movement characteristic. And then when I was reading the rules, it sort of appears that way, but then in that case, a lot of these debuffing things where you like try to throw a -2 movement on a dragon isn't going to do anything. And I guess, like, I don't think that's right, but I don't know if that Is that just me just thinking it's that way, and it is actually not supposed to have the modifiers, or I don't know. Where do you guys land on that?
What is the fly?
I'm looking up the fly rule right now.
Because what does it say? Yeah, so
I will bring it up if you want.
Yeah, bring it up.
Sorry, YouTube.
Because models that can fly can choose either to move normally on the ground using their movement characteristic or to move by flying.
Yeah, see how it's that thing in the brackets there.
Inches a model can fly based on the model, and this will be showing brackets after the name of this special.
Yeah, I think it's a bit dodgy how they wrote that because it basically, to me, that reads as your movement characteristic is your ground movement, which is either move normally on the ground using their movement characteristic or to move by flying. Now, when you go and look at a spell like, I now have to think of one. What's a spell? Can you guys? What's one that was there one in Necromancy?
Oh, maybe the one in Illusion.
Oh yeah, hang on. Let's have a look at that one.
Illusion. The miasmic mirage is -2 modifier to its movement characteristic. And cannot marshal charge.
Oh, I'm not even sharing the screen. Sorry, guys. Yeah. A bit dodgy, eh?
That's all right.
Because that's not even just to its movement. That's very specific to its movement.
Yeah, movement characteristic.
Yeah, they pretty much all say it, I think, a lot of them. So I doubt it's intended that way, but I don't know.
Yeah, that's pretty damning. No, I very much doubt it's intended. But the way it's written.
But I'm pretty sure we've had these issues in other editions before, and you would think they would have sorted that out. Like the whole leadership thing was a bit like that with the, is the buffs, is the generals one actually changing the leadership characteristic or is it not? Like with, what was that? Was it Soul Blight or whatever it was in 8th where you had to take a leadership thing, but then, what it was called, I can't remember. But anyway, okay. I don't know if there's much to add on that one, but it just seemed a bit dodgy with the wording. But I just think hopefully we get some type of proper ruling on that. I feel like everyone I've seen, most of them play those buffs. Those do debuff the movement, even if it's fly. But I don't know. Rules as written seems a bit the other way a little bit, unless I'm totally wrong, which I probably am. I'm not actually saying it shouldn't. I actually would rather it be able to debuff stuff because I think that's important. So why should they be immune to it? You know what I mean? Like if I throw Itchy Nuisance at a dragon, shouldn't it? Why should just because they fly they don't get itchy? I'm assuming Itchy does movement, doesn't it? Can't remember, but might just be initiative. Can't remember. But anyway, cool. There's that one, and then there's just the whole in general cumulative special rules, like things like Frenzy's the funny one, because the special rules, when I go to them, I'm sharing the screen now, aren't I? Because now I've just moved off, Because you know the cumulative special rule thing talks about, unless it's otherwise noted, if it alters a characteristic, the result of a dice or any other value such as armor value, that effects is cumulative. And then if you go and look at something like Frenzy, Frenzy model has a +1 modifier to its attack characteristic, and it doesn't say that it's not cumulative. Is that the right word? Yeah. So therefore, rules as written, if you've got frenzied troops and you can get a spell of frenzy on them, they'd have +2 attacks. And there's a few like that, I think, which is a bit different to old editions. So
yeah. I wouldn't agree with that. I would just say if you're giving somebody frenzy, just give them the frenzy again.
It looks like,
it's like on or off. I think someone was saying that's what they would have ruled it like Warhammer World or something. That's like an on-off thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, to me, that just means they need to rewrite that cumulative thing at the beginning because it's just written weird.
Yeah.
the beginning of the special rules.
Yeah, the cumulative bit. Like it, they should just be clear in every one that it's. I'd almost rather it the other way, that nothing's cumulative and they just specify which ones are. It's so much easier.
It's just because it's got like it's a nominated figure. So if you had like Frenzy 1 or Frenzy 2, as in like the number of attacks you got, then I'd say you would.
Yeah.
But yeah, just because you give
what
something.
the cumulative section talks about. That's a weird bit.
Yeah, but the thing is like that they do. The example they're giving you does have
Is
like
Armor Bane.
Yeah, which does have a nominated, number.
But is that Fly? Is Fly then cumulative? Because there's nothing reason Fly should be cumulative.
That is a good point.
And people are saying it is, so you get 20-inch flies and stuff, or 20-inch fly move, which is then,
Just because there is, yeah. I mean, if there is because there's a number there, so.
Yeah, and I don't think it says it's not cumulative, and it's pretty much like Armor Bane then. But then again, Fly isn't modifying a characteristic.
No. So
this is where you go, well, hang on. Well, I don't think it's modifying characteristic because it's just saying that's how far you move. So to me, it's a bit more like Magic Res, where you can have 2 flies on a unit, but you have to choose which one you want to use, potentially. But, by that logic, Frenzy's now stackable because it is modifying the attack characteristics. So it's fun. It just needs, there's going to be a few little weird things like this. I just find it funny. The more people play, the more weird, especially when you start forgetting, like deliberately trying to forget how it used to work. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Anyway, I don't know if that was. Be interested to see what the listeners think and what they found, and I'm assuming there's better explanations than what I gave in terms of the rightness or wrongness of them. But yeah, cool. Do you want to get into some more follow-ups of How to Kill Dragons? No, it's not so much How to Kill Dragons, but
you got me reading the rules now. I'm going to be up all night.
Oh, I know. Well, it is every time you read it, something else pops up. You just did one before. You should bring up your.
Yeah, I know.
You should bring up that one that you found.
Oh yeah. So I was looking into as part of this week's episode the how it works basically for attacking a character in. I just want to make sure that it does work well. I thought that basically you can't attack a character in a unit unless you're in base-to-base contact. You have to attack the unit the character's in. And then as part of that, I found that when you remove models, basically as they're slain, you remove them from the ends of the front fighting rank, basically. Or you remove them from the back of the unit, but that's meant to simulate the ends of the fighting rank, not the center. So if you had 2 units in base-to-base contact and they had like 3 models each side in the fighting rank, you'd be removing those models first, not the ones in base-to-base contact. So that would affect basically if the ones in base-to-base contact had multiple attacks, because that means that they would get their multiple attacks. Instead if they were just not in base-to-base contact but still in the fighting rank, they only get that single attack.
And it would have been, if I'd remember my +1 attack frenzy with my Tomb Guard against your chariot and stuff, where I was a lot wider than yours, but you killed a bunch of my guys. Technically, the guys who were left in the fighting rank should have fought with 2 attacks.
Exactly.
Which I only played 1, but that's because I played 1 with all of them, I think, because I forgot I had +1 attack. But anyway. I think that's an interesting.
Well, logic, you would think.
That's so confusing.
But
logically, because the whole point of the rule about the fighting rank isn't it? They're supposed to be circling around the guys and that type of thing.
But the other thing that, Josh, I thought, which was a bit confusing, is if you've got that long, say you're 10 wide or 15 wide, and then it's pretty common, I would imagine, that a smaller unit is coming from one other side, and the closest they can hit you is, you've got 10, but they got 5, but they're only 4 of them are fully base to base with your left side of your fighting rank. Where do you take them from there? Because each side of the fighting rank is is going to get you out of base contact at some point because you're eating it. Is that what you got to do anyway? Like, like from both sides and not just from one end, so you don't stay in combat. I don't know. I have to look at that. It's probably in the book. I just haven't looked at it.
Yeah, that you can't move models that are in combat as such. You got to prioritize models that aren't. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that in there?
I don't know. Andrew was the one who was looking at that bit. He just told me that before, so I was like, I didn't even realise that. Yeah. Anyway, let's talk about, while you're looking, do you want to talk about, so it's a flow-on effect, so I'm not pretending none of this is actually, I don't think what I'm about to say is even that viable. I was just wondering if it is we were talking about dragons and all the ways to kill dragons, but at the same time, we also were going through the scenarios, and I think it was you guys that really pointed out, man, these scenario victory points are actually hard to come by, in the sense that you pretty much have to wipe a unit out. Otherwise, you're not getting a lot of points, really. Like, they've got to be dead or fleeing off the board, or if they're fleeing, they've got to be under 50% to even get anything. And if they're not fleeing, they've got to be under 25% to get 25% of the victory points. So I guess, and then, as I said at the beginning of the show, Dwellers were talking about, so they'd listened to our podcast and others, and we were having, they were sort of talking about the similar things with the dragon. And, they brought up the sort of lots of units and just have so many little units that the dragon has to eat. You can only eat through 4 units in a game, maybe, because if you can block him one turn and then he can't charge turn 1, he's only eating 4 units, so just have little ones. But then the other option was have a big unit. And that's when I was like, well, hang on. What used to stop having big units? And that was Purple Sun and Dwellers Below and all these stopped you having fucking big units. And then I went, well, is there upper limits on some of these? And I'm like, no, very few upper limits. I know zombies have up to 40, but skeletons don't, and Tomb Guard don't. And I'm like,
yeah.
And then we were talking about, well, how do you avoid the Tomb King on the dragon? Will you kill the rest of his army? Okay, well, what happens if I put all the rest of my army in a massive Tomb Guard unit that has a champ and everything, and I can raise that guy back? And I just added it up, and it's like, you can fit 75 Tomb Guard in a unit under 2,000 points, plus, your Hierophant and stuff, and then your Tomb King dragon, and you're like, come and get me. You have to wipe that 75% of that Tomb Guard down to get any points out of it. And you can choose to run away from my dragon, or you know what, you can fight my dragon, but he's going to probably win most of the time. Some dragons will kill him, but not all of them. And so you're like, is Deathstars back? I guess is what I wanted to.
Yeah.
It's a bit scary, but and then on top of that, the scenarios don't really have a lot of things that make you want to take lots of units. Like you don't have table quarters.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you don't have. There's even
table quarters and stuff. Yeah. Right.
Yeah. Like so, if you don't have that many units, it's not massively disadvantaging you, I don't think.
Yeah, 100%.
I don't know. Anyway, that's where I've got to anyway.
Right.
That's
I mean, there's still a concern about. I mean, there's no steadfast in the game either. That doesn't get lost by flanking. Like.
Yeah.
If your massive block gets flanked by something with that's reasonably competent in combat, what's the implications there? You're going to be disrupted. You lose your rank bonus. If you fall back in good order, you're probably okay. Then you can reform.
Reform.
You
can reform. So it's a bit stupid. I don't know.
If you just give ground, it doesn't help you.
No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't help you give ground. But then some of these, on top of it, the Tomb Kings have the Phalanx rule for plus 10 points. So then now I don't even give ground. And I never fall back in good order because I'm undead. So you can't even push me out of combat. Like if you're a dragon or you're a big unit and you hit my guy, you're stuck there the rest of the game because I'll just keep raising it. You can't break out. I never give ground.
Yeah.
You'll like... How long does it take to chew through? Well, how many skeletons can put in a unit? I could put 140, I think, in a unit. The dragon's not getting through that.
Yeah. and you're raising them. That's not a spell either. So you just pass the leadership test to bring them back.
No, yeah. Now the biggest trick is trying to probably keep, obviously, your Hierophant alive and stuff. But that's going into your point, Andrew, about like if you're really wide, how can you, like keep your, can you put a couple of small level mortuary priests across that front rank? Yeah, I don't know. It's just the question. Like, are we going to? Because there was this question too that
what you're advocating is both line hammer and rank hammer.
A little bit. Yeah.
Well,
the way to go line hammer is to go line hammer, but with lots of ranks as well. Like really big units.
Just giant movement tray.
Yeah. I'd love to see it, but yeah, I don't know. Like, I don't think I would want to play that, but it'd be funny to see. I don't know. I don't reckon. Like, I was talking to ASB. He reckons he still could get it, but initially he was like, maybe you can push it off the board, and which is true. Like, they're so big that if you do give ground enough, you'll knock them off the back of the board. So she can get in there quick. But it doesn't help with undead. Well, at least my Tomb Kings, if they've got phalanx, whatever it's called, on them. But a lot of units can't do that. They're always going to give ground. So, if it's a massive block and it's 10 inches long, then if it doesn't get out of its deployment zone very fast, you potentially, between that and fall back in Guild Order, you'll probably push it off the board and it'll die.
Yeah.
So that's definitely a counter. But my counter to that is, well, if it's Tomb Guard or Skeletons. Yes, and we'll bump through. Yeah, exactly. But for undead who don't fall back, and for Tomb Kings who don't even potentially have the option to not even give ground, they're not going anywhere. So,
but I mean, you don't have to just go into. So I looked at this a little bit different. Sure. I did look at this from an undead point of view. I looked at this as an elite infantry point of view.
Yeah.
Where you can have like a unit up to, 30 odd, including characters, of just really.
Oh, we lost Josh.
We lost Josh.
Hopefully he'll be back.
Yeah, of really, really tough sort of, high armor, high toughness, good attacks, like your standard elite infantry sort of thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just thought in that, like, obviously, your characters are going to be a must. You could have a combination of choppy or tanky character builds, just depending on what you're trying to do. But obviously, with these sort of units, I just think, like, initiative's always going to be the king. Doesn't matter, unless you're like a stupid line hammer. Doesn't really matter what you've got, but
yeah, because you've got so many attacks back type thing.
Yeah. So you really need that initiative. So without going into like a full on line hammer, like 20 or 15 odd across, I think you'd still get away with maybe 7, maybe max 8 wide, because you're still going to have your ranks and whatnot. That's going to give you combat res. But yeah, definitely I think that initiative's king. But the thing I've been tossing up with great weapons, obviously, especially with dwarves, I'm like, I was trying to work out, I'm going to be copping a charge no matter what, being dwarves. And if I don't have this Master Rune of Hesitation or this and that, I'm still trying to work out how I can bring great weapons to bear. And I thought one of the good ways of doing that is getting a high initiative character to try and knock down those attacks coming into the unit. So having a really choppy character.
So he does have a great weapon, but he's got like ASF or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Just to try and get, 4 or 5, probably 5's getting a bit carried away, but take 4 models off. And then you might only have like, the champ and a couple more attacks coming back at you. So obviously you're going to be able to maximize that potential with your great weapons. And obviously with the Deathstars, talking about a big unit, you can obviously have, 3 combat res. Like there's people talking about now, possible static combat reses of sort of that 6 region,
6 or 7. Yeah.
It's really getting up there. So
yeah. No, especially like orcs, I think, can do it. I mean, there's probably others. I know orcs have those couple of ways to get combat res. Plus, obviously, they got horde, and stuff like that. And obviously, what is it? Yeah, horde gives you the extra rank, doesn't it? Yeah, so you can get +3. BSB. Yeah, so they can get 7, I think, with one of their banners, with their BSBs in there as well.
Yeah. I think there's a good place for it now, especially with like the dragon monster hammer. I think this.
Well, yeah, I mean,
like
I know I went a bit overboard with what I was saying, but one of the things we were talking about with that was like, especially if you're not on a dragon, like you're a dwarf, right?
Yeah.
The question always, and you load up this guy with Monster Slayer and blah, 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 and then the first thing you hear the dragon player says is, well, I'm not going into that unit. Why would I go into it? Like, why would I go and attack your character? So then my flip side thinking was, well, if you don't do it, you're not getting anything because all my points are here. So
exactly.
So that sort of was the thinking of going to the point where there is no other targets for you to have. You know what I mean? And the more you bring around that becomes less true, because if you have artillery there and you got this, that, and then suddenly he can go, well, I'll eat all that and there's 600 points and I don't have to go into it. But yeah, it's all around this monster thing, and maybe it's a waste of time because maybe not many people win dragons anyway, and it doesn't really matter. But it was just funny, the thought process to do. But even if you don't go, even if you're not combating the dragon build, and we find a lot of people aren't bringing it or whatever, it's comped out, there's something about that 25% victory point which makes them still very attractive to say, well, the more I can put in something where you have to fight me on my terms, but it's a lot to get through. It's points denial.
Yeah, it is. And 8th was kind of like that. Like the monsters weren't as big in 8th, and you ended up having these sort of bigger Death Star blocks. Not necessarily bigger, but like just.
Well, I think this is what happened. Like ogres did it; they went sort of big, but then suddenly people hitting them with Pit of Shades or whatever. What was it? No, what's the 2? Purple Sun's the initiative one, isn't it? And what's Pit of Shades?
Yeah,
that was strength. There was 2 initiative ones, I think.
Rolls below was your strength test.
Oh, was it? Yeah. Of
course.
So it wasn't that. It's definitely Purple Sun for ogres.
Yeah.
I thought it was. Yeah. So that's sort of. I don't know if that was a deliberate choice, but I feel like those insta-kill spells were definitely a counter to having all your eggs in one basket, because then that whole unit goes. But there isn't anything like that in the game now.
No, yeah. I mean, you did have rules that went into Deathstars supporting them. I mean, because you had the horde formations as well, although you could argue that Linehammer is sort of going down that similar avenue in a way, isn't it?
Well, I mean, why do you even want ranks? Do you know what I mean? Like, I mean, if you can only get +2, I can get more. Like, especially what you said, Andrew, with you've got elite infantry, you're going to kill more than 2 people if you have more people in your front rank. So why care about the ranks?
Yeah.
So, yeah. I mean, I've got no big negative thing yet totally on the Linehammer. I haven't really seen. It'd be a bit annoying if everything doesn't look Warhammer at some point, like it's all skirmishes and lines of troops. It's going to look a bit that's where I just don't want that.
It'll look worse than Age of Sigmar.
Yeah. It's like you might as well just go to rounds and play a different game. Yeah, so hopefully it's Luke, what's his name, Bagnall, whatever his name,
Blaxel?
Blaxel, yeah, he had it right, because he was like, there's technically nothing wrong with any of these rules. What we hate is that it doesn't look like Warhammer. I'm like, that's totally 100% true. Yeah.
Much,
So, I don't even care we don't really care about the big unkillable dragon, because I mean, it's a dragon. It should be cool. We just want to find ways to kill it. Yeah. But
I would argue the reforming into a line after falling back in good order is probably one of the rules that is not great, because it's rewarding losing otherwise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The rest of them, it's interesting rules, but they might not just be the way we think it should be. Yeah.
Yeah. But it'd just be interesting to see I was wanting to do a bit of analysis on what was it? One of the other tournaments that went on the weekend, but I didn't get a chance. Just to see sort of the types of lists that people were bringing. But I guess the problem is you can look at a list, but you don't overly know maybe how they were going to deploy and do stuff as well. So it's a bit hard without seeing how it played out.
Yeah, you're going to try and predict it. Yeah, I think isn't that that's part of the beauty of trying to look at these lists is working it in your head how you would do those things.
Yeah.
How much success you'd have.
Yeah. Was there any other thoughts on that Death Star stuff, or you reckon that's people give us some feedback and we might better put a video out? I'd just be interesting. I reckon it'd be pretty topical at some point.
Yeah. I feel I would be interested to see what would happen if he had a Death Star come up against not the Dragon, but slightly more typical army. Because the other thing is, like, a lot of the bonuses that we're used to not being cumulative are cumulative now between units, like standards and close order is cumulative in a way. So if you get a couple of units into the big block, you're actually probably going to be up on the static res just by virtue of having multiple units in combat with it. So
I think you'd have to, because if you didn't, the unit, like, say, I don't know, that Tomb Guard one I was talking about was something like 11 wide by 5-7 deep or whatever it was. I can't remember what it was. But that's pretty wide, right? So, like, it can pretty much just push forward. You give it the reserve move spell and stuff. You get it across. Like, the whole idea is just run forward and see what it runs into. And because if it runs into something smaller than it, then it's basically, like you said, it's in Linehammer. It can reform into Linehammer because you give it drilled as well. So if it gets a charge off, you definitely go into Linehammer as much as you can. And even if you accidentally contact 2 units, I mean, there's so much in there that maybe it wipes them off the table anyway. I don't know. It's such a big, And then if it doesn't, if it loses combat, it goes, okay, well, I'll just sit here and lose combat for 4 turns, but you probably still won't get through me.
Yeah.
Well, that's true. Yeah, that's true. You won't actually get any points out of it, even if you're whacking. And
then while you're doing that, my unkillable dragon is then going around and eating those other units as well. Yeah. So.
Where they consider to be terrain, like if you got such a big unit going on, like that's really wide.
It'll be rolling low dice, like Andrew was doing.
25 centimeters wide. Like, how are you maneuvering that thing across the board? If you've got multiple big pieces of impassable terrain in the way, you're just going to get stuck somewhere, aren't you?
Yeah, and I guess one thing is, if that's the type of game board you land on, then you go, well, I won't go across the board. I'll just get in this little position. I'll just stand here because. Again, I'm not here to actually kill. I am if you get in, but if I'm just here to hold 1,300 points or whatever,
I'm getting worried here.
Yeah, it'd be fun to try just for fun.
We've got our game coming up, and we're talking about this like tournament.
I do not have that many.
And then I've got Gommo's going to rock up the dragon,
and a dragon and 74
bloody Tomb Guard. Line hammering across the board.
I would love to see this. I mean, we
should do a proxied game of that just for fun at some point. But it's just there's no way I'd play that.
Won't be fun.
But the other thing is and I'm thinking Tomb Kings here, so like forgive me, like it's not applicable everywhere. But with Tomb Kings, you obviously got to keep your Hierophant and stuff, and I know that means. The more characters you have in that unit, the more chance someone can get points out of it because they can fly in and eat your BSB or whatever. Like, so you got to be real careful to go, well, maybe I won't bring, do you know what I mean? Like, maybe I'll bring the BSB, but what if I put the BSB, like, touching the back of the unit or something? You know what I mean? Like, so he's basically not in the unit, but he's touching it. And so you can, unless you've got to fly around to try and get him, but then my dragons is hanging around as well to stop some of that. But even my Hierophant could be in fly, but just sit right next to the unit and jump from one side or the other, depending on the threat. Because the unit is so big, you can hide around it. Do you know what I mean? Like you can,
you can pop through the other side. But
if you got the flying carpet, you could just go on the other side of the unit and just like you basically are touching the other unit because nothing stops you, but you're on the left flank. And then if someone comes, if that's the scary side, then you jump back over to the back. The BSB is not as mobile, so you probably can't do that. But
you've been thinking about this a lot, haven't you, Gobber?
Scheming. I was just like, man, how would you? I don't know. I'm a bad player, so there's probably like ASB is probably going, I'll just do this and kill you. And I go, yeah, it's probably true, but it just feels,
no,
you know,
I think you're right.
very
It would be hard to get through. Yeah,
it would be. It would be really hard. Yeah,
and all you need
especially
is
the dragon. Yeah.
No, it needs. I think it needs. I mean, it probably it needs the dragon. Otherwise, whereas you're going to struggle to put 2,000 points in one unit. That's a bit dumb. Or maybe it's not, but you won't get any points either. You know what I mean? It'll be 10-10 because you won't play.
This giant unit's not dumb.
You know,
I can't put all of them in one unit.
Yeah, you need to have 3 units.
Put everything in the one unit. Well, do you also? Yeah, I can't remember. There's something like that too, isn't there?
You do need to have 3 units in an army list.
Yeah, so mine had 2 scorpions because I thought, well, look, I'll give you 85 points or whatever, or 2 of you. Because, but then if you do get close to my dragon with my scorpions, I've got 3, like 2 monster slayers there, just in case, you know. Like if you bring your star dragon, that's cool. But again, you're going to have to fight my 2 scorpions while you're fighting my dragon, you know, and you still might get me, but maybe I'll get you, you know. But the dragon's there to get the points, and then the big unit's there to either not give them away or in the right matchup get points as well, but otherwise he doesn't care. The big unit just sits there and doesn't go off the table because it doesn't move, and if it needs to reform, it just got drilled. So it is funny because when I was trying to add it up, I was actually just adding every... it's actually quite hard to add that much points up, so you actually have to take all the dumb things, like you got to put a muso in it, and then you got to add all the options because you want to add up, you want as much points in the unit as you can get, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it ends up being a sink. You go, I don't really want that banner, but I'll put that magic banner on it because it eats more points. You know, like... Anyway, that's why I was just there. I wouldn't do this, but there'd be idiots out there that do something like this.
Yeah. It sounds plausible enough to work almost. Just because you can't break it, that's the thing. You know, you can't push it back. You can't shift it, even if you're flanking.
Well, if you kill the Hierophant, then it'll eventually start crumbling. But then if the dragon is the general and he's hanging around, I can't remember.
But wait. If you're crumbling, isn't it? So you just 2d6 leadership check, isn't it? Is that what it is? And then you lose how many
your own
wounds?
leadership. Hey, it's the leadership. So you can get the Tomb King's leadership, can't you? That's what it was.
I don't know. You're the Tomb King player.
Well, I haven't crumbled yet, have I?
Oh, you haven't. You haven't crumbled yet.
No, I haven't.
What I'm saying is, even if you're failing the crumble test by 6,
it's going to take. Yeah,
you're still going to take 10
That's
turns before you get anywhere near killing the unit off.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
It doesn't matter if the Hierophant dies.
So that's why I went to the skeleton one. And I originally did the Tomb Guard one, and then I went for the Tomb Guard to be effective. Well, not effective, but to actually do more damage with the Tomb Guard, you want the Necrotech in there and stuff. But the more characters you put in, the more points you leak, because someone can get in there and just sniper it, you know. Go in and they'll die, but they'll get the character. Whereas if you're skeletons, you just go, well, I'm not going to do anything, but I'm also not going to die. So maybe I'll just bring 150 spear skeletons and just sit there, you know. Or 150 archers in open order. And I can pivot 90 degrees at the end of, if I need to.
Just skirmish.
And volley fire. I'll just sit there and just volley fire. Maybe
I feel
bring
like
140 skeletons.
If you had the...
they don't have phalanx. Yes. Yeah, you can't take skeleton archers. They'll get pushed off the table. Yeah.
Yeah, they definitely will.
Yeah, you need phalanx, which I can't remember is on skeleton. I think it's definitely on Tomb Guard. I think it's on skeletons though as well. So I'd have to check. It would be a funny game. We should try it once though, if we've got a spare day.
I'd like to see you guys try it, just to see what happens, just to see if it's actually an awful, horrible.
Oh, it'd be an awful game.
Well, I got like 250 zombies, so I might just bring this giant block of zombies.
But you can only put 40 in there. I think zombies are limited to 40. You might have to bring your skeletons. I can't remember what the rules are. You'd have to check yours book.
I'll have to have a look. I have lots of skeletons too. So
yeah, no, you did. But do you have the phalanx rule? I don't. Do you have that?
Nah, I've got one on the grave guard.
Oh, dear. You can have that where they don't give ground. Yeah, well, you just bring your graveyard then.
Yeah.
Oh, you both can't do it. That's the whole point is to see if it can be beaten. Not if both of you have two massive phalanx blocks.
Well, then it becomes a 10
into each other.
That's what's funny. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's the problem with putting everything in one unit. Well, one unit with just a couple of two other small things. It just is a 10-10. But I think with this unit with a dragon, it's potentially not a 10-10 because the dragon can do a fair bit of damage.
And the rest of your army's in a single block.
So they can't get any points. Yeah.
Well, I've got a dragon. I'll bring my dragon. We'll do it. Mirror match. Mirror match. Yeah.
Oh, block and dragon. Oh, my God.
Yeah. You take 2 scorpions, I'll take 2 Vargulfs.
Yeah. Technically, I probably only did take. There is a 3. It's a 3 unit. Is the dragon a unit if it's a character? Well, not really. No, because he becomes a monster, right? So it is a unit. No, like the character, doesn't he become a monster when he is on it? So now he's a unit? Don't know. That doesn't matter because you just bring something crap. So, well, that scorpion's not crap, but it's good thing is it's only like 75 or whatever it is, or 80 points, or whatever it is. So it's not a lot to give up because they'll die. Obviously, those 2 little dudes will die at some point. It's stupid. It's probably dumb. Someone the first person leaving a comment will be, "This doesn't work because of blah," and I'll go, "Oh yeah."
I hope so. I really hope
next week.
They'll be like, "No, I'll show you. I'll prove you wrong."
It's funny. Anyway, is that our episode then? Is that where we want to leave it off?
I think so.
Unfortunately.
Cool. Well, anyway, hopefully people found that amusing, if nothing else, and can tell us some other ideas or whatever. There's probably so many other crazy things we haven't thought of, and then we can maybe we'll throw out a YouTube video on it for the week and see what other people come up with. So yeah, do you want to wrap it up then, guys?
Was that it?
I think so.
Yeah, I think.
I had a thing about running campaigns, but we'll do that another day.
That's
I need to do a bit more research on that one. Yeah. Well, hey, before we do say goodbye, though, good luck, Josh. Weekend.
Oh, yeah. Thanks, guys. Thanks, guys.
Want some regular updates.
Excited to it.
Yeah, throw some good stuff or something.
I'll let you guys know.
Yeah,
I'll try to remember to take some photos.
Yeah. And we'll talk about it next week for sure and get rundown of some.
Hopefully
people won't mind a little bit of 6th edition back on the channel. We are Old World after all, not the Old World. We're Old World. So, anyway, cool. Thanks for listening to another one of our rambling episodes. And if you can, just leave us a 5-star review or jump on YouTube and hit the like, subscribe, and alert button for us, guys. And as I said at the beginning of the show, feel free to join our Patreon if you'd like to. We are starting to put a little bit, probably not so much last week, I got a bit busy, but some of our behind-the-scenes chatter and sort of early access to a few little things will start dribbling out more as we get a little bit more organised. But otherwise, find us on the internet, on the interwebs, at Old World Fanatics, on all the major social networks, as well as oldworldfanatics@gmail.com. And until next time, guys, thanks for listening, and we'll see you on the next episode. Cheers, guys.
Ciao.